Hi everyone, this is Isabel, co-founder and creator of SIV, and this is the SIV Skin Microbiome Series, where we highlight the important role of the skin microbiome in healing stubborn skin conditions. Today we have Hanna Register on the show. Hanna has been a practicing esthetician for just a year now, but her wisdom goes far beyond that. She's located in Kinston, North Carolina, with a special focus in all skin. So she is open to all, and she loves to educate her clients on skincare, skin health, all things skin. So I'm super excited for you guys to see this episode. I think it is just information packed. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. Okay, and we are here with Hanna. Hanna, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to chat with you. You have an amazing before and after that you've allowed us to share, so I'm excited to get into that. But first, I want to know, do you remember, how did you first hear about SIV? Because I think you found us fairly recently, right?
I did, yes. So I follow Savannah Boda on Instagram, just all of the things. And I saw that she posted her son and his before and afters. And I have a lot of clients that struggle with post-inflammatory erythema. So the redness of the difference in the redness, how much that it went down, I was like, oh, I wonder if this would be beneficial for something like that, rather than, rash or like a reaction or something. And so I just kind of followed up with some of her posts kind of after, a few weeks, few days, and I saw that she was posting just a little more often. And so I found her website, and then I reached out, and I was like, we went over the call, we had a few questions, and we just kind of summed everything up, and I was like, this is perfect. So it was initially her post that I came across, and I was like, this is insane. There's no way this is real.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, we see so many amazing before and afters with babies and kids. And that's one of the main things that I think draws people in, because, there's only so much you can do sometimes for a kid. You want to be really gentle on their skin. You want to make sure you're nourishing their skin. So that's a big point for a lot of estheticians. So I love that you found us through her and through her nice before and after. And yeah, so tell me a little bit about where does the skin microbiome kind of play a role in your practice? Do you find yourself focusing a lot on the microbiome, or kind of give me a little bit of background there?
Yeah, so I would say it's one of the biggest things that I do discuss with all of my clients. So I will say I have a mix of a lot of clients for anti-aging and with acne. So it's kind of a good in between, but those are the two that I can categorize to be separate. And I feel like a lot of my clients come in with dehydrated skin. So with social media and everything, TikTok mostly, you'll see a lot of people that post, all these routines. And I have a lot of clients that come in here that follow those routines, but in the end, it's not what their skin needs. And it kind of strips their skin of a lot of different things. And so whenever we do the analysis, I can kind of pinch their skin and tell, and I'm like, oh, okay, we have some barrier kind of damage here. We're really drying your skin out, and in the long run, for fine lines, wrinkles, hydrating the skin for acne, it's just not going to get you where you need to be in the long run. Even if your skin feels hydrated, I have a lot of clients that come in with heavy reflection when their skin's dry, and I'm like, okay, this is the number one indicator that you do not want to see that. So I always just kind of the same for our gut. We have a gut microbiome, so we still have a microbiome within our skin's ecosystem. So I always just kind of give them the rundown of, you can't really have healthy skin if it's not from the inside out. We can use beautiful products on the outside, but if they're not, having something good to work with on the inside, it's not going to show. Just like with the products, that might be a little too harsh. It's not that they're bad products. It's just they might not be paired in a regimen that best suits their skin type. So I would say with every client that comes in here, it is just, even if they have a healthy microbiome, just by the analysis and products and regimens and things like that, it's always something to kind of keep an eye out for, to make sure nothing's changing, because, even with SIV, there's multiple changes that happen in our skin, inflammatory response, immune response, all these different things. So in the blink of an eye, for example, the season with the pollen and just everything, it's always just good to keep in mind, just to mention it to them, to make sure that everything's kind of staying in touch the way it needs to.
Absolutely. Wow. That was very well said. We can clip that and be like, that was amazing. No, I totally agree. Obviously with, everything has to work well on the inside to kind of reflect on the outside. And we're just giving this outside now an extra kind of push to balance and set that nice foundation for these other products to work better. I mean, that's some of the best results that we've seen with SIV are paired with, other products, because it's just helping to set that proper foundation. And I love that you brought up dehydration, because that is such a huge driver of so many conditions and so many skin issues. And I don't think that a lot of people understand that. Even, non-inflamed acne, general congestion in the skin is so heavily tied to dehydration in the skin. And then, the general consumer doesn't understand usually the difference between dry and dehydrated, where those are very different. And ironically, having dehydrated skin will make your skin more oily, not dry. So it's kind of a weird little twist there. But one of the ways that SIV has helped so much is repairing the barrier. And, barrier integrity and hydration go hand in hand. One of the best ways to actually test if somebody has some kind of issue in the barrier is through their transepidermal water loss levels, right? So their dehydration levels, to see how much water is leaking through that barrier, because that's one of the first things to go when we have barrier disruption and barrier issues. So when we already have that barrier disruption, and then we're putting on these harsher products to maybe help try and reduce some of the bacteria that might be getting into the skin, trying to exfoliate the skin, it can oftentimes be making it a lot worse. And so SIV is really a great tool then to be able to help repair that barrier through a different mechanism, through those microbes. And so that's one of the best ways that we've seen it help with people. So I love that you brought up dehydration and hydrated skin, because it's so, so important. And I think that in the coming years, we're actually going to be seeing a lot more talk around actual hydration of the skin, because I think it's a really hidden driving factor of a lot of skin issues. So great point there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so you have allowed us to share an amazing before and after. Her skin does look very glowy after this, so I'm loving that. So I'll go ahead and flip my screen over here and share this. Okay, so here we have an amazing before and after. Like, that redness, wow. It's
absolutely
fun. That is crazy. And just a little over a month. Like, that's insane. So give us the rundown. If someone watching this, if an esthetician's watching this going, oh my God, how in the world did she achieve this? Give us the rundown, give us a little bit of, history on this client, what, you tried before, maybe if there were other things, and then where SIV kind of helped this client as well. So give us the details.
Yeah, so she is actually 28 years old, and she came in initially with she was pregnant about a year ago. And after, with that kind of season that she was going through, her skin was perfectly fine, never had any issues, maybe some hormonal acne back in teenage years, but nothing that was a major concern. And so she came to me with just really inflamed acne, some, non-inflamed, some congestion here and there. And she was seeing a primary care provider, and they gave her pure hydrogen peroxide to put on her skin, on top of this CeraVe salicylic acid cleanser with no moisturizer. So she came in initially just, dying for help, but she was like, look, I have no idea what to do. And I'm just, sitting in my chair, and I'm like, thinking of the skin barrier. I'm like, okay, we're going to have, some time to really give and some patience to really bring your skin back, for wound healing, because hydrogen peroxide is not ideal for that in the form she was using it. And so we kind of started with just basic hydrating facials. So nothing that was super heavily focused on targeting the inflamed acne to begin with, because I didn't want to go through and her skin be so sensitized from the routine she was doing, and then to kind of, go ham in and make it even worse or irritate her skin even more. And with all of my clients first time, I always start, pretty gentle, pretty slow, because these are new products, they are professional products. So you don't want to find out, of an unknown allergy or an irritant or anything like that, within doing the process of facials for, a specific result, kind of outcome. So we have done a total of, I believe, 7 facials. So she started coming to me in July of 2024. And from there, again, we were just starting with hydrating, and probably about facial 3 to 4, that's when we started incorporating, some detoxification, some anti-inflammatory products, just starting again, very simple, but effective. So after she came initially, we just started her on the Vanicream cleanser and the moisturizer to be price friendly and to make sure I knew that her barrier was still going to be, held up pretty good, with very gentle, just hydrating products only. So after about that before picture in the photo was facial 6. So she had facial that time, and then the after picture is her next follow-up facial from there after 35 days. So literally the craziest change. And the one thing that she incorporated within that was SIV. She does have the circadian line and the Glymed kind of put together. So she uses the lipid replacing cleansing gel, the salicylic acid cleanser, and the Glymed serums that she uses there is the clarifying serum, restoring fulvic elixir, and puts in the SIV with that. That whole routine there with the recovery cream as her moisturizer is so anti-inflammatory. It is great for the redness to calm that down, great for skin barrier, on top of other benefits like anti-aging, anti-redness, to clarify the skin, congestion, just all the great things that we know that come from, those products. So, really, it just really, took a lot of time with patience because she did have kind of a large gap between facial 4 and 5. So when she came for 6, initially we had completely calmed all the inflammatory acne that she had starting from July. You can kind of see a little bit of just irritation, but not necessarily completely inflamed acne. So we kind of know the bacteria was, balanced within the routines and just what she was doing at home from the start. But with the SIV, as you can see, the redness literally just went away. And her barrier is so much healthier. But again, just patience, and we gave the time to focus on her barrier specifically. Even before I knew about SIV, with clients that come in that tell you about, what they're doing currently for their skincare and what concerns they have, it's always better to know what their goal is for their skin, and to kind of work with that along the way, especially with, product recommendations. So with, her routine now, we're kind of incorporating, anti-aging and hydrating and calming and clarifying to make sure it doesn't come back, balancing the skin. All these great, amazing things were focused with her plan. Her treatment plan is a good description of that. But yeah, and we didn't even do anything that was invasive. We didn't do peels. I didn't do any oxygen facials. We didn't do microneedling. We didn't do any of that stuff that kind of takes an investment on the end of the professional. And on top of the clients also, this is so price friendly. Even the other products that she's using with it, still very price friendly, but treatment cost, it was, so effective, and it gives amazing results. So it is absolutely everything I can imagine and more, to see my clients walk out of the door and get text messages and they're like, oh, girl, my skin looks so amazing, or like, what is in this? It's magic in a bottle. And I'm like, look, I'm telling you, it's just magic in a bottle. So yeah, I feel like that's a good little summary of from beginning to end and how to incorporate just all different products and the focus on the client's skin and the biome with that. Because again, like we said, it's from the inside out. With her skin having that break, she could have had anything happen with stress or with hormones. And I did want to mention, so with my clients, I always do a thyroid check. So you can always kind of feel if it's swollen or, if it just kind of feels a little off. So if I know there's no history within their consultation form, with everybody's massage, you can just put your hands like a little crab and just do that. And if it has a little kind of bulge to it, it might be a little swollen. So I always mention that to everybody. And there are very many cases to where, yes, check, everyone check.
I tested myself. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yes. And I just preach that to my clients because our hormones play a large role in our skin. And so with doing her facials, I think it was pretty early on. All of a sudden I knew she was having these random problems, after pregnancy. Skin always changes, but in the sense of what she was dealing with, I was like, maybe there is a different root cause, and we want to have that kind of approach differently rather than hydrogen peroxide and the harsh cleanser. So I did like a little check on her, and we did find that it was actually very swollen. And so I just mentioned it to her. I was like, hey girl, like, I don't want to, frighten you by any means, but I just told this to all of my clients that I just felt that it was a little swollen. It might be good just to go get checked out. And she ended up going to get it checked out and did have to have further testing. Nothing that was major negative, but it has played a part in her skin journey also. So even just anything that is inflammatory within your client, whatever they have going on, the consultation is so important. If they have medical history, if they're on certain medications, I mean, you don't have to have the knowledge of a doctor, but anything that is happening in their body medically is going to have an external effect on their skin, with acne, psoriasis, eczema, everything. So it's really important to also put that into her play. So anything that we were using on her skin, again, was focused on anti-inflammation. And again, with the consultation, playing into the gut microbiome, just kind of preaching a little bit about, healthy lifestyle, healthy habits, don't eat like a bunny rabbit, but it's good, to have a good balance of things that can help calm inflammation. So, I mean, her story is literally incredible. It has made a dramatic change for sure in only just, 7 months, really. I mean, that's such short time to see that big of a difference. And I think all skincare professionals know it does not happen in the blink of an eye. And SIV literally happened in the blink of an eye. 35 days.
That
Insane.
That is what is blowing my mind. Like, I know that the people can't see my live reaction. I don't think my face is on the screen, but my mouth was on the floor. I didn't realize that you had been working with her, like facials, before this point. And then this was the difference between, what did you say? This was facial number 6 and then going into 7.
Yep.
That is insane. Like, oh my God, that is so amazing. And just, listening to you speak, it's so interesting. Like, you're a newer esthetician, but you're speaking as though you have like years and years of experience. I must say, honestly,
thank you.
I speak with a lot of estheticians, and you're right up there with the 10, 15-year veterans. So I'm so excited to even see the knowledge that you'll gain in the next 5 years being in practice and kind of understanding the skin at an even deeper level, because you're already going into it so intuitively, it seems, where you really know, how to work with the whole body. And it's really immensely impressive the way that you were able to walk us through that. And I can't believe that this was a 35-day recovery period, and there was already facials and products being used going on before that. So that is incredible. It just speaks to your talent as an esthetician, being able to pull together this amazing routine. It speaks to the product's abilities of setting that foundation and allowing these other products to work better. We talk all about that all the time. I say this all the time, but that is really one of the main utility and functions of SIV, is to set that foundation. Now, these other products that are focused on the barrier, these are great products. These are products that are designed really eloquently, really beautifully. And sometimes they just need that extra push, but if it's the microbes that are really driving this inflammation, which most of the time it is, because they're so interconnected with the skin's immune system, if we're not specifically treating the microbes, it can be really hard to target that inflammation. So I'm just blown away by this before and after. Thank you for letting us share this, because it speaks volumes to what the product can achieve, especially when in conjunction with the right esthetician and the right routine. So thank you.
Yes, love that.
Amazing.
It makes me happy just to look at it.
Me too. Honestly, it's awesome. And she must be so happy.
Yes, it is. Like I said, to see them walk out the door, and it's almost like it's life-changing. That's so, I wouldn't even consider that dramatic to say. Our skin is, it's evident to everybody. Everybody sees it. It's the first thing you see when you look at somebody. It's not their eyes, it's not their mouth, it's not their teeth, it's their skin. That is the person. And to see their skin change, and their confidence and just how they come in here and how they talk to you, versus the first appointment to, like, for example, the after appointment. It is just crazy to see the change. And, it's not always something you mention like to them. It's just so fulfilling, like, to see what your work can do for someone and what SIV can do for somebody, not even just, the facials and the other products, but just one product, one bottle that can absolutely change 35 days for somebody is incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, that was incredible. So, okay, I'm going to stop presenting here. So as we wrap up, I like to ask everybody, what is a hot take from you? Give me something good. Give me something spicy.
I feel like I have given a little thought into this, and I have a lot of clients that come in here talking about like sun exposure. And I do wear sunscreen every day, but you will find me like laying out on the beach all day, 8 hours. But it's not that I feel like, so we know, UVB rays, UVA, we all know the sun exposure on our skin is not the most ideal. We've got skin cancer, all these crazy different things. I just don't feel like personally the sun should be avoided. And I think, a lot of estheticians or just, general people, the hand gloves and like the face like guards while you're driving and like the window covers, things like that. I think the thought of that is great, and I think that it is a great practice to have, but the sun is so useful. Vitamin D, just your overall grounding state of your just natural being is so important to have sun exposure. Now, obviously, probably don't lay out 8-9 hours at the beach, but, sunscreen use is still important. But I do feel like that is a major thing in the skincare world and just the world in general. It's like, stay away from the sun. Everybody wants to be like so fair skinned. And I think that's a great thing. But I think being scared of the sun, the way I feel like it might be going towards is a little bit like the opposite of the way it should be. I think to have the general knowledge of the bad things that come from it, don't sit in the tanning bed, don't do these crazy things that we know and understand are bad. But sun exposure is not a bad thing, and people should not be caving themselves away from it, because it is very evident of those that lack sun exposure and those that have it. So a prime example of that is like corporate jobs. Those that have no windows, no sun exposure, no anything, are more prone to vitamin deficiency than anybody else with an outdoor job. And it's like we can't avoid the sun at the thought of that risk. Everybody's risk is up there. No matter what you do, everybody is going to have that, but it's nothing that we should be scared of. I think the sun is a great thing and should be appreciated.
I love that. I'm curious to know how this is going to be received in the industry, but I think that's a very measured take. I think it makes perfect sense. I happen to fully agree as somebody who also loves the sun. Mm-hmm. And I think about it in two ways, where I think you did a really nice job of balancing, like, practice sun exposure safely, right? You're not saying to go out there and fry like a piece of bacon.
Right. Have an umbrella, but appreciate the rays a little bit. Yes.
I totally agree with you that like sun is very important for our overall health, right? So if we're just looking at like skin alone, isolated by itself, okay, sun exposure is bad. But when we're looking at it holistically, even from a gut microbiome standpoint, a hormone standpoint, vitamin D, all of that kind of stuff, our body is a system, and as a whole, we need sun exposure. So I totally hear your point. I see it. I think it's very well measured the way that you said it. I totally agree. And I'll be curious to know what people will say. I'm sure they're going to be like, not to get in the sun. I'm just saying to wear sunscreen. So I'm sure that'll be like,
everybody comes for me.
Top comment. Yeah. But I think that's a great hot take. And I totally agree with that. And, I'm sure that people in the industry understand that, but maybe the general consumer, with the messaging and the marketing around sunscreen and like, stay out of the sun and and like you said, with the hat and the gloves and the listen, I've had the get up. I do it sometimes, but it's kind of unnecessary in my opinion. So like, wear your sunscreen, be like a normal person.
Yes, like I still wear sunscreen. Like I'm not against sunscreen by any means, but sun exposure, it makes the world of a difference. When I go without sun, I'm like a whole different person. Like it's so important. It's so important.
Hear you. Well, I'll be curious to know what the people think. Be
Yes,
nice to her, everyone. You didn't say anything bad. And I, oh, cool. Love it. Well, Hanna, thank you so much again for your time today. This was incredible. I think people are going to love it. Tell everybody where they can find you if they want to book with you. Are you taking virtuals? Give them your Instagram, like any other thing that you want to plug or put in here. Now's the time.
Yeah, I do. Well, I've started to kind of think about doing the virtual. But I mean, I do have my website linked on my Instagram. That is the thing that I'm most active on, but it's theskinbar.nc. So just plain theskinbar.nc. And so any sort of messages, I mean, online consultation, even if it's through a text message. I mean, if you just want general skincare knowledge, I am always happy to yap about skincare. It's like the one thing I can't shut up about. Um, I do work in a very small town, Pink Hill, North Carolina. That is probably something that is like the ittiest bittiest dot on a map. But yeah, I do have plans to expand one day and have multiple locations. So I think that sharing that now will really help to kind of encourage that goal, just to reach out to more people. And to, reach out to people that may not be from here, even if it is just over a DM, like, hey girl, what's good for this or something like that. So I'm open to anything.
Absolutely. I think that's amazing. All right. Well, thank you, Hanna, so much. And we will see everybody next time.
Thank you.